Welcome back to the Poly Tea with D. I hope you guys enjoyed episode one. We're now on episode two. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Consistency, not my forte. But let's get on it. Honestly, guys, I've been putting in the work because I've been getting calls. Let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And actually, I am gonna have to stop filming halfway through this because one, I didn't charge my phone and I'm using my phone camera today. Didn't charge my laptop, so it's on 60%. I also promised my friend that I would accompany her somewhere. So I'm gonna have to record half of this, then go record the other half. So if you notice some inconsistencies, like look wise, if you're even watching it, then that is why. But sure look, sure listen, this is the way it goes. We have so much to talk about. Today's actually like, I was honestly like, should I even include every single one of these things? Like, is it necessary? But what the hell? Why the hell not? Let's just get into it. Okay, so let's start off easy and let's talk about the infamous housing video. So the video that's like tips for when you're moving back home or how to cope with moving back home. Okay, so the Department of Housing put this video out, but actually Spun Out are the people who made it. And in that context, Spun Out making it themselves, that makes sense. They're a youth charity. They think about ways to support young people. Young people actually came to them. They have these like action panels every couple months so young people can come in, ask them, like tell them, oh, this is what I'm struggling with, and they come up with solutions like how can we support people. One of the things that came up obviously is that a lot of people are struggling with living at home, especially if you move out and then come back in. I can't even imagine that. I don't know any different. I've always just lived at home. I already struggle with that, but I if I move out, I can never ever move in. Like I don't know what I'll do. I just don't think I could do it. So I can understand this is something that a lot of young people are struggling with. So in that context, it makes sense for Spuna to do a video like how to support these people, how to support your family, or how to support yourself in this situation. What does not make sense now is for the Department of Housing to then go on and share that video. Also, every time I saw it on the Department of Housing, whatever, the spun out logo was gone. So then it just looked like the Department of Housing made this video, found young people, made this video, and put it out there. So the whole situation is like the government are already being tone deaf completely in this situation. But now it looks even worse because with the spun out context, they can be kind of not even vindicated in any way, not even closely, but you can kind of be like, okay, well, Spun Out made that and they just reshared it stupidly, sure. But now it looks like they made it. The department sharing that video, I just don't understand what was their thought process. Like, my problem is that they just seem so out of touch. Not seem, they are so out of touch with reality. I don't know what planet they're living on. I don't even know if they're in the same galaxy as us. But it just seems like every time they come up with a new video or new anything, it's like, have you lived in this country in the past, I don't know, decade? Like, why do they say or do the things that they do? Like, you created this housing problem, and instead of delivering more social housing or affordable housing or just houses full stop, instead of doing that, you're reposting, oh, I'm so sorry that you guys actually aren't able to move out and that you're 30 years old living with your mom, 40 even living with your mom. But here are 5 tips and tricks on how to cope with that. How about with the cleaning? It'll make you feel more independent. Are you fucking stupid? Why would you do that? Like, why would you actually share that? And they've said, let me even get the quote. James Brown, who's the Minister for Housing, was like, it was well intentioned, maybe misconceived, but there was no conspiracy. Okay. It doesn't mean like just because you think there's no conspiracy, or there probably wasn't. There definitely wasn't conspiracy. No one was sitting here thinking, about a malicious way to attack young people or to make young people feel fucking stupid. But they make these silly mistakes, and it's like your intention doesn't change the way that people feel about it. Like, just because you didn't feel it intention doesn't mean I'm any less angry about it. Like, the consequences are still the same, and they can never admit when they're wrong. They can never be like, "Oh, that was a flop. My bad." They can never do that. It's always, "Well, actually, no one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear that." Shut it down. Anyway, I don't know what was going on there. And like, to be fair, the coalition, not the coalition, the government are honestly, I'd say the opposition when they saw that they were thinking, perfect. This is exactly what I needed. Ammunition. Because they went guns blazing. Ivana Bacek called this like satire. She was like, and honestly, it's what did you even say? It's a move beyond satire. Satire is not even a strong enough word. Now we're somewhere else. Cray cray. So I think the opposition were like, this is perfect. They fuck up again. It's not that it's hard to come up with something to say about the government, but still, this is a new low for them, honestly. So last week I was talking about Australia banning under 16s from using social media, and that we were thinking of doing something similar, or at least reevaluating our laws and whatnot, and that the EU was also thinking of the same. Well, Patrick O'Donovan, who is the Minister for Communications and Sport and something else, he held a press conference, okay? And he was like, I'm a bit annoyed that the EU haven't done anything and they haven't come up with anything, concrete so far. So we will have to do something. The problem is, he also mentioned that we could never have an under 16 ban the way that Australia does because we're part of the EU. So our policies have to align with EU policies, especially because we've signed the Digital Services Act. So our policies, that whatever we come up with has to kind of align with that. So until the EU come up with something concrete, they have come up the government have agreed to a digital wallet. So the digital wallet is actually tied to your PPS number. So then that can be used to verify your age on social media. So that like if Facebook says you can't be on until 13, you can't be on until 13. And it's already been developed, and next year they're going to start testing it. On top of that, they're thinking to use the digital wallet to actually verify your age on porn sites because you have to be like 18 to go on them. So, if this digital wallet actually becomes a thing, then we won't really need that under 16's full ban because we'll have this. So, we'll see how it works or how long it even take to fully roll out because they're only going to start testing it next year. And who knows, by the end of the next year, the EU could have a full plan by then. So, we'll see how it goes. So this week we had a new grassroots organization launch. There's actually been a few launches at the moment. One that I wasn't actually planning on talking about, but it's an interesting one, is Our Flag. It's like this campaign to reclaim the Irish flag because right now it's very like right wing esque. It's kind of the same as what happened to the UK flag, where when you see it, you now would think, oh, something crazy is going on over there. It's probably some like racist, weird person because it's always associated with like anti-immigration now, which is happening to the Irish flag. So, which I like, this has been a conversation for a while. Like every time I go into someone's bio and if they have the Irish flag, sometimes I'll be like, oh, jump scare. Oh, which is so bizarre because it's like, why wouldn't you want to have your flag in your bio? Like that is such a normal thing to do. But because it's been used so much at these like anti-immigration rallies where it's like get them out, like very nationalist vibes, um, it's kind of lost its meaning a little bit. So the Our Flag campaign is people going online, taking a picture with the flag, and kind of talking about what it means to them, so that it's like, this is our flag, this is the nation, everybody in here, we own this. Okay? It's about unity, connection, love, understanding, bonding, trust, whatever. So that's the Our Flag one. But the other one that launched, more politically related, like actual politics. I mean, everything's political, to be honest, but this is actually politics related. Is the Quinnic Clay. This means keep left, and it's actually coming off the back of the Catherine Conley campaign. So I'll read you what they have in their little bio online. So we are a grassroots community inspired by Catherine Conley's campaign and committed to making her vision of a new republic a reality. As she said, we have the power, we have the vision, and we can do it together. So yeah, that's what they're on at the moment. And they had like a launch and there was like people on the panel. So let's see who's on the panel. We had People Before Profit TD Richard Boyd Barrett. We had the Green Party councillor Hazel Chu, Social Democrats TD Rory Hearn, Labour Party TD Kieran Ahern, and then Sinn Féin councillor Dahi Doolan, and an independent senator Eileen Flynn. We got everybody in there. Because we the big three, don't need a big speech. Anyway, yeah, crazy. Because you know what's after the campaign, after the whole Catherine Connolly campaign, even while it was happening or the presidential election, everybody kept saying like this was the biggest conversation. Even when Catherine Connolly won, it was can the left unite? Can the left unite? Can they stay united? That was it. Catherine Connolly had one of the biggest like sweeps in history, or like the biggest, and everybody's still talking. Well, that was all great, but like, what next now? Can the left do it? Can they actually stick to their guns? And I'll be honest, I kept hearing it so much that I was like, damn, can the left actually, um, you know, carry on with this? Like, is there actually a future where we have a left wing coalition government? And the more I heard it, I was like, I kind of was like going back and forth. And some of these critiques are fair because, like, I had seen with my own eyes when I was watching interviews. Like, one interview that I watched was Ivana Bacik, and she was on, I want to say RTE, probably was RTE, and she was on RTE, and they were like, do you see the left uniting? And one of the questions they asked her was, do you see like would you back Mary Lou as Taoiseach of like the first female Taoiseach or as the next Taoiseach of Ireland? And she basically said no. She was like, I don't really see that happening. You know, we'd want to be the main party, which is obvious. Like for every party, they'd obviously be like, no, we want to be number one. Like that's kind of natural. But you also have to be realistic. There is not going to be a left wing coalition without Sinn Féin in it, and Sinn Féin's leader is Mary Lou McDonald, whether they like it or not. So that's when I was a bit like, this is a bit, the foundation's a little shaky, shaky, shaky because like they work really well as an opposition. Like all the left wing parties, they work really well. So I was like, could they do it in government? Would there be too much bickering back and forth? And sure, there probably would be. That's just they're all separate parties. They're not just because they're all left wing doesn't mean that they have the same stances on certain issues, the same policies. Obviously, they would all just be one big party if they were all the same, you know? But I do think that there is hope, and this like grassroots organization, this whatever they're planning, I'm excited to see what's next. This kind of shows that this isn't a one-time thing. They actually have a future, or they have something in mind. They want to keep this going. So I'm excited. I actually like have hope for the first time in a long time. So yeah. This week there was a protest outside Leinster House, and it was ran by the Irish Wheelchair Association, the Disability Federation of Ireland, and Access for All. And outside the at the protest, people were kind of just talking about their experiences recently. One person saying that they have to go to libraries to stay warm because they can't afford heat. So a lot of people obviously lost out when the government got rid of the one-off payment in this budget. But the way that people with disabilities lost out is they lost their additional disability support grant, which was €400. They lost the additional €300 that they get in fuel allowances, and they lost the October 2025 double payment of core welfare rates. That is a lot of money to lose in one fell swoop. It doesn't really make sense for the government to have taken this away, but let's hear their reasoning. In a statement, um, the government said, or well, a spokesperson for the Department of Social Protection said, improving the position and ensuring full participation of disabled people in our society is a priority for the government. Government is working to address these issues by bringing in permanent changes rather than relying on once off measures. The department provides the supplementary welfare allowance scheme to those whose means are insufficient to meet their needs and those of their dependents. Well, that's just really not a good enough answer, honestly. And the opposition are calling for an immediate emergency winter payment, and from next year, the introduction of permanent cost of disability. So, or the introduction of a permanent cost of disability payment. I understand to a certain extent the need for permanent changes because we do need permanent changes. People need to have stability, things that they can rely on. But why, when you're figuring out what that thing is, must we suffer? Because this applies not only to people with disabilities, but just in general, anybody who was relying on one-off payments, fuel allowances, um, student fees. Why, until you figure out what you're going to do we have to just lose out? Because it would make sense if it was like they took the one-off payments and then we were introduced to an alternative. We weren't introduced to anything. Nobody was. We lost the one-off payments and that was it. While the government are trying to figure out what are these permanent changes that we should be implementing, everybody's suffering. Why would they, like, I just don't understand why they would take away these payments. It doesn't make any sense. So, I haven't watched Leaders Questions in a while, honestly. Like 3 weeks or something. I wasn't here to be fair. But I tuned in today just randomly. I was like, let me turn it on. I'm gonna be filming my podcast later. Like I better keep up to date. You can find out other ways about like what's going on, but I was like, let me just watch it today, okay? At the point that I tuned in, it's Matt Carthy from Sinn Féin and Patrick O'Donovan getting a little bit catty with each other. This always like this always happens. People get like I actually always forget how bitchy it is in there. Is bitchy the right term? Like they just are so kind of childish sometimes. And they just like go back and forth, but whatever. At this point, it's Matt Carthy. I mean, this is happens a bit after, but it's Matt Carthy and Patrick O'Donovan, and they're kind of talking about the potential rise in blister packs, like the cost rise. So they're going back and forth, and the last Kian Corla had to jump in and be like, "Oh, can you guys calm down? Like this is very, very unserious. You know, let's act civilized. You know." And then it's now Connor Sheehan from Labour's turn to speak. Why does he say this? He goes, he thanks the Ceann Comhairle for calling this out. He says, I mean, this is Dáil Éireann and not Kilmallock Cattle Mart, and every Thursday we're treated to the same thing. So he says that, obviously, that like riles a few feathers. Everyone's like, oh, you go there, you know how they get in there. And then Sinn Féin's Mark Ward calls him a muppet. I didn't hear this, but somebody did. Jed Nash from Labour, and he's like, "You can't say that, but like you know how they get him there. They're kind of like, he's like getting really angry, and he's like, last Cam Corla, like do something, like ref, do something, have a word, have a word. He's like, you please say something here. Last Cam Corla's like, I didn't hear anything. Like if you want to file a formal complaint, go do that. But that is so funny to me that Mark Ward just called him a muppet, but like whatever. Um, and then Jed Nash was like, he just used unparliamentary language with my colleague, like that's not right. So will they make a formal complaint? I don't know, but like, I mean, obviously don't call people names and whatnot, but it's just like, is it that serious ever? I don't know. The issue of overcrowding came up, as always, specifically at UHL, because like the numbers just keep rising and rising and rising. And the government of kind of, or the Minister for Health, kind of, who's Jennifer Carroll McNeil, kind of put a band aid over a bullet hole by introducing more beds or like putting in more beds. But what we need is a new hospital. We don't have a track record, obviously, for building new hospitals. Shout out Children's Hospital. Another shout out. I gave them a shout out last week. Well, we have another shout out this week. Still in progress. But they were saying that they need to think about things in the long run. Another thing that got brought up was this super flu. I should have gotten vaccinated for the flu. Everybody was like, you're so young, you don't really need it. Now I'm thinking, damn it, I should have gotten vaccinated because I'm really, really stressed out. But there's this new variant that's going around and people are getting really, really, really sick to the point that like UHL, like there was like over 300 people in their admission in their emergency department in like one day. And when they checked, a third of the people that were in there for um being for the flu, only a third of them had been vaccinated. So it's like, damn, get your vaccines. So Sinn Féin were like, why didn't you warn people, or why didn't you tell people? You should have had a campaign where you warned people about this and got them to get vaccinated. And then Patrick O'Donovan is like, well, actually, the HSE did have a campaign and people just didn't get vaccinated. Like, we're gonna still keep pushing it. And then he's like, this is just a reminder to everybody to get vaccinated. Why are you saying this in the doll chamber? Who the hell is watching Leaders Questions at 12:30 in the middle of the day? Like, bruh. I mean, I am, but like, I'm a loser. And I'm joking. I'm pretty cool actually, but like, I just have time on my hands. But like, no one has time. Do you think I mean, actually, elderly people I'd say do have time. Over 65s, maybe they are watching Leaders Questions in the middle of the day because they're retired at that point. I don't know. On the topic of giving the over 65s a flu vaccine, they gave them this weak ass version of the flu vaccine. I mean, it's not weak, it's just the standard version. But there's another version, like a juvented vaccine. I don't know what it's called or how to pronounce it, so we're just gonna call it the superior version. Okay? There's a superior version out there that they didn't give people because they didn't deem it cost effective, which is confusing because Hikwa said that yeah, it actually would be more expensive to vaccinate people with this version, but in the long run, you'd actually save money because when they go to the hospital, that in the long run costs more money. So the HSE should have just paid them. Why are we so cheap, man? Like, we're playing with people's health and we're also playing with an overrun health system. Anyway, they should have vaccinated these over 65s with the superior version, but they didn't because they said it was too expensive. And now the hospitals are overrun or the emergency departments are overrun, and it's like, well, duh. And this is just the beginning. January is gonna be worse, they said. Oh, I'm scared, but like, who are the money people in this country and why can't they do simple equations? Because Hikwa recommended this to them last year, and this year they just didn't. They just thought, no, we'll save a euro or two, please, 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 please. Very unserious people. Okay, we're nearly there, guys. Just a few more topics. Also, I've changed outfit because it's now the next day. Oops. I just had to stop recording because I promised a friend that I would accompany her while she does somebody else's nails, so I was just sitting there. I mean, I was editing the other half of the podcast, but now we're on the second half, and also I started filming, and then after 10 minutes, I was like, wait, I didn't attach the mic. So that's very, very fun, and it's very, very cool, but alas, we're back to business. So let's get back into it. Okay. So I'm gonna be looking at down on my iPad for a lot of this. So if you're watching, um, that's the vibe of today because this one is a bit more technical. I don't want to fuck these things up. I mean, I don't want to fuck anything up, but this specifically is like more technical stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay. So the first thing is the Arbitration Amendment Bill. If you are watching your news and you're thinking, I watch the news pretty regularly, I don't know much about this one, it's because it's not being covered. I found out about this through Instagram, but like people for profit posted it, and then I saw TikTok about it, and I was like, damn, why is this kind of crazy? Why is no one talking about it? You can have your guesses. But anyway, this vote to pass this amendment bill happened at 1 a.m. in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night. Okay, guys, sorry, I need to stop with the singing. But 1 a.m., that's actually sick. Like, opposition dead asleep at this point. Maybe they're even awake, they maybe would have trotted over. But they knew they were dead wrong because they did it in the middle of the night. Who does that? How sneaky. Anyway, so, what is this bill? Okay, so the Arbitration Amendment Bill is a bill that was needed to amend the Arbitration Act of 2010 so that Ireland could ratify trade deals like CETA, which is an EU-Canada trade agreement, okay? So in 2022, we actually tried to ratify this trade agreement or like we tried to ratify this trade agreement, but we couldn't because the Supreme Court, and ratify is like means to like consent or make valid like a treaty in a country. So make valid this treaty in Ireland, okay? So we tried to do that here, and the Supreme Court said, no, actually, this kind of goes against our constitution. Like, it's not really constitutional. It also goes against our sovereignty. So we don't really feel too good about this one. Try again next time. Government said, "Oh, bet," and they just passed this law in the middle of, I mean, 3 years later, but they just passed the law to change it in the middle of the night so that we could join these trade agreements. So I'm going to use the EU Canada trade agreement as an example. So we obviously want to join this trade agreement. So what this means now is foreign companies can sue the Irish state if they feel like we are impeding on their profits, like if we're stopping their profits. So, like, for example, say we're doing business with a Canadian company, we pass a law, we do something that means that they can't sell here, or like they can't, they're not, their profits aren't doing well here. They go to a foreign investor court before they'd have to deal with us in our turf, on our land. They'd have to come here, deal with our court systems. Now they can go to a foreign investor court, and you can stay into these courts for up to 20 years. So they can go to a foreign investor court. If the investors court rules in their favor, they can come to Ireland to collect. They can say, well, actually, babe, this court said you owe me 20 mil. I'm here to get it. And they legally have the right to do that now because of this amendment bill. Insanity. And the government know they're dead wrong, and they knew that there would be so much backlash if they had done this in broad daylight because there would have been public debate. Like the opposition actually would have been able to prepare, would have been able to come in, ask them questions about it, go through the bill. Like there would have been a debate. It obviously would have always passed because, you know, like they're the government, they're the majority. Whatever bill they want to pass will always pass. But at least we could have spoken about it. There could have been a debate. People could have known what was happening. Instead, they snuck in the middle of the night like vampires or something and took the blood out of the country for the sake of it. Well, not for the sake of it. They say it's to attract foreign investors and foreign assets and all that kind of stuff. But no, it's like this obsession with attracting foreign investors, like, damn, what happened to just like being a little bit self-sufficient? Like, when has that ever saved us? Like, when have these foreign investors saved us? They don't give a fuck about us. They care about money. They don't care about human beings. And you're like, please come on in. We're open. We're open. It's a free for all. Like, we're already such an open country, and such, I think foreign investors love us because our laws are so weak when it comes to it. But I don't know. They want to make it our laws even weaker and make it like, oh, like, why would they favor these foreign? I mean, I don't know why I keep saying why. We know why, because the government are also lining their own pocket at the same time. They benefit from this. But do I benefit from this? Did the next guy benefit from this? Like, no, we don't. But of course, that doesn't matter. Sometimes things like this happen, and you're just like, damn, like they just don't care about us at all. And you might feel like, D, this is a really melodramatic, tangent that you're going on. Like, is it really that deep? And honestly, yeah, it is that deep. And again, this 1 a.m. thing, they know it's that deep because why did they do it at 1 a.m.? The concept of a foreign investor company or foreign investor or a foreign company suing us and us having to cash out because they did it somewhere else is insane. Like, genuinely. But yeah, that's where we are now. That is literally where we are. But yeah, I hope I didn't despair on you guys too much. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's where we are. Okay, so next, sorry, we got to move on quickly. Next, last week I was talking about the about Zelensky's visit and the high level of security, and I just was like, it seems a bit excessive. First of all, I'm not the only one. Load of TDs actually, like, behind the scenes, have been complaining about how excessive the security was. Like, first of all, a lot of people, like all the TDs, not all of them, but a lot of people found out on the day that their staff weren't allowed to come in. So it was just the TDs and their like senators who were allowed to come in, no staff. Um, and it's like all of these people are vetted already. Like, and then there was a lot of TDs being like, we don't want this to become the norm for when world leaders start to come to us, like to start to visit us. Like, we can't just stop function for the whole day because of one person. Then you have other people being like, okay, well, he, like Duncan Smith from Labour, he's a Labour TD. He was like, well, he's a wartime president, so this level of security does make sense. Also, like, after his visit, it came out that there were drones actually around his, like, near his journey, and also in Hoth, Shadow Hoth, and that's a no-fly zone. So there were drones there. Everybody thinks it was Russia. Russia's like, we didn't do that. That could be anybody's drone. It could be a kid's drone. You don't know that. I mean, they didn't say that obviously, but they're basically saying it wasn't us. They don't know anything about it, but everybody's like, please. Don't insult my intelligence, genuinely. So now there's an investigation into, where did, like, how did that happen? Like, where did the drones come from? Even though they know, but they're still investigating nonetheless because you can't just assume these things. It did bring up another topic though, which is Ireland a secure enough place to host world leaders, especially ahead of next year's EU presidency? So, if you don't know what the EU presidency is, it's basically the EU presidency of the presidency of the EU Council. Okay? So it's not about a one person, like a one person being a president. It's like each member state gets to take on this role, and they have it for 6 months. So they will host loads of world leaders or like EU leaders, and they get to host all these meetings. They chair the meetings, they set the agenda. So it kind of gives each country in the EU a chance to put forward, you know, things that are important to them, topics that are important to them, and set the agenda. So like I'd say we'll bring up the child safety thing, I'd say. Um but yeah, so we will be having that next year from July to December. So loads of EU like world leaders will be here, EU like foreign ministers and whatnot, MEPs, all the rest, they'll be here for all of these meetings that are going to be like it's going to be a lot. So people, when this whole situation with Zelensky happened, everyone's like, so can we hack having that many people here all the time for 6 months? Um, but the European Council President Antonio Costa came in to Ireland as a little courtesy call, and he held a press conference and he said, I have full confidence that Ireland will keep us safe. Let's cut the conversation. Let's stop this now. We will be fine. We will be safe. We're okay. So nice of him to do, I guess. Also, we've held these before. We've held like eight, I think, since 2013. So like we'll be fine, genuine. I mean, times are changing and whatnot. But we have held them before, so this is not. It's not like it's a big deal, but it's not that big of a deal. No tea, no shade, I think. Also, on this line about defense, Helen McEntee, who's our Minister for Foreign Affairs and Defense, I always forget defense is part of it, but she's the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Defense, and she just announced a new budget which for defense spending. So between now and 2030, we will be spending 1.7 billion euro on defense. This is a new one for us. We're not really into the defense thing now, the guns and whatnot, the planes, the anti-drone techs. We're not into that usually, but she says let's quote her on this. She was speaking at Curra Camp in Kildare, and she said, "It's essential that we continue to increase our funding, our spending, and our focus on the defense forces. We all know the changing environment and world that we live in. We know the type of changing threats that are emerging, and my focus and priority as Minister for Defense is making sure the defense forces are growing, expanding, and we are enhancing capabilities." Okay. So, yeah, they're focusing a lot on land, air, and cyber defense and anti-drone tech. A lot on anti-drone tech. Again, the big bad drones. So, yeah, we will see. Like, honestly, guys, defense freaks me out. Like, when we start talking about, like, all of this stuff, it does give me the heebie-jeebies because I'm just like, Loki is a neutral country. Like, should we be doing all this? Guys, let me tell you a little bit about. Oh my God, this is actually one of my favorite theories in college that I learned about. I don't know if I said this, but I did politics and international relations in UCD. Shout out, that was one of my majors. My other major was information and communication. Anyway, so one of the theories that this reminds me of is the security dilemma, which is when one country starts building up their defenses and their capabilities just to feel safe. They start building it up and building it up, and like again in our case where it's like you weren't doing that before, now you're doing that, another country now sees that as a threat, so then they start building up their capabilities and their defense, and then it's just kind of like we're building and building and building and we're going bar for bar. And now, even if no one is intending to attack, we're all less secure, and we're less secure than we were before because everybody has this in their mind that, like, oh, now I feel a little in danger. Now I feel a little unsafe. Just because your original thought process was, I'm just building this up just because I need to, like, just to have it in my pocket, if you will. Not because you were planning to attack anyone. So this whole situation reminds me of that. Wow, degree coming in clutch for like the first time ever. Shout out. Damn. So the last topic we're going to talk about is a bill that Jennifer Whitmore, who's a Social Democrats TD, brought forward, and it's the Dog Welfare Amendment Bill. So these are the things that it's calling for. It caps the number of breeding females on site at 30, introduces a 6-month minimum age for breeding and an 8-year maximum age for breeding, maximum of 1 litter per year per breeding female, a maximum of 4 liters per breeding female during her lifetime, and a minimum age of 10 weeks for pup separation with a 1 to 10 staff to animal ratio for proper care. And this is all because I didn't know this about us, but we're known as the puppy farm capital of Europe. Is that not crazy? Oh my God. We export 30,000 animals every year. Every single year. Like it's a 200 million euro industry here. And like the practices are pretty disgusting. Loads of dogs get sick from this. Like I mean it's just a terrible practice. Like puppy farms. Are we kidding? Genuinely? Come on. And like people, oh, it was actually kind of cute. A load of TDs brought their dogs. I know Jen Whitmore brought her dog, and they were like outside the doll, and they had their puppies and stuff like that. But yeah, some of the things that they were talking about is like around Christmas time, loads of people buy puppies for people for Christmas presents and stuff. But then it's like somebody who's not expecting to get a puppy for Christmas now has a puppy. They don't know how to take care of it. The puppy, if it comes from a puppy farm, might be ill, like difficult to take care of, have separation anxiety because it was taken away from its mother too quickly. So then they give the puppy back, or they give it to these rescue services, and then they become overrun with all of these puppies that nobody. Guys, wait, it's actually making me really sad. So then these places are overrun with puppies that nobody wants anymore. And imagine some people don't even bring it to rescues; they just leave it outside. Whew. No, guys, it's actually really depressing. So, um, the government did not shut down this bill. They were like, you know what, fair enough, we'll work with you on this. So, over the next 9 months, the Social Democrats will be working alongside the government to get this bill passed. So, yeah, this is exciting. This is good news. And it's not a really crazy bill that's going to change the puppy farm industry in Ireland, because I feel like that would just, there'd be a lot of backlash from the puppy farms, I guess. Um, but yeah, it would upend the industry, I guess. So now they're just trying to make small changes, but something concrete, and then they can, I guess, build from there, because there hasn't really been any changes in the industry at all. So, yeah. But anyway, that's it for me for today. I hope this was an interesting episode. Hope you guys learned a lot. The camera, like if you're watching video, I don't even know if anyone's watching video, but it is really chaotic. Like I keep moving, like positioning, I keep zooming in. Now it's the next day from when I started filming. I don't even know, but like we will get used to it. We will get better, and hopefully over time I will get used to this. But yeah, very excited, and thanks for everybody who listened and all the kind words everybody has said. Like everybody was so kind of excited for me to start this, which I was like, whoa. I didn't know people care like that. So I'm really excited to keep this going. And yeah, I'm off to my friends told me exactly how to pronounce this. I even made them send a voice note. Ratsoff. I think that's how you pronounce it. That's how I'm gonna pronounce it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But it's in Poland, and we're going to the Christmas markets, so I'm actually really, really excited. We're gonna spend a few days there. My first time ever in Poland, and my friends are Polish, so they can translate for us. So this we never really go places where we have translators, so this is exciting. So, yeah. I'll see you guys next week, and hopefully everything will the camera angles will hopefully be better next week. Anyway, bye.